Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. There's a fun question with a surprising answer that has been around for years. If you were going to write out numbers, in other words, spell them out instead of using the numerals, how high do you have to go before you use the letter A? Interestingly enough, the answer is 1,000. 1,000 is the first written number in which the letter A appears. And that's surprising. I have the number 1,000 on my brain this week because this Friday will be the 1,000th Pastor Gary Live episode. This whole endeavor began in the early days of the pandemic as a way to keep us connected together as the people of God during our enforced isolation. And I guess I've just kept going. But with 1,000 on the brain, I began to wonder about times in the Bible where 1,000 of something is referred to. Frankly, I didn't know if there were very many or what meaning I might find there. You can imagine my surprise when I found over 550 references to the word thousand. So this week, to celebrate my 1,000th episode, we're going to look at a few of those. Perhaps the best place to start is with the first of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are found in Exodus 20, and the first one is vital. It says, "I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods." When I teach the confirmation kids, one of the questions I ask is if there is one commandment that is more important than the others. Eventually, we agree that this one stands out above the others. If we do this one, it leads to following all the others. Luther says that this commandment means we are to fear, love, and trust God above all things. So where does the word thousand show up? Well, you have to go a little further. The passage continues with the words about not making an idol as a description of one of the ways we have other gods in our lives. And it further says God is a jealous God who will punish iniquity to the third and fourth generation. Ouch. We don't want to hear that. On the other hand, maybe we do. You see, it goes on a little further then to say that God shows steadfast love to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. Suddenly, it becomes a word of grace. The punishment is limited. The blessing and steadfast love extends beyond measure or calculation. This commandment brings with it God's promise, God's commitment to us. We can count on God's love. It is steadfast and sure. This understanding of our God of grace is echoed in Psalm 105. This is a psalm of thanksgiving and praise to God, and verse 8 says, "God is mindful of his covenant forever, of the word that he commanded for 1,000 generations." God has committed God's self to us. We may be fickle and chase after other gods. We may falsely put other things before God, but God is mindful of his covenant forever, even to the 1,000th generation. Let me put it this way. If you consider a generation to be 20 years, which is a common understanding, then if you want to be literal, 1,000 generations would be 20,000 years. When God made this promise to Abraham, it was about 4,000 years ago. So just running the numbers, we are only 1/5 into how long God's covenant promise will last. Now, I'm not one of those who gets hung up on literal numbers. I think God means forever. And when you think about how long it was back to Abraham's time in the Bronze Age, well, even the actual numbers seem like forever. That's the promise we have from God, and what we should think about when we hear the number 1,000. God's love is steadfast. God's love is everlasting. God's love is for us. God's love is for you. God's love is forever. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.